The Rahman household had always been a warm, lively home. The walls held laughter, the kitchen held memories, and the evenings were filled with soft conversations over chai. And in the middle of it all had always been Zion, a boy whose heart once felt like sunlight, quiet, gentle, thoughtful. He used to sit beside his mother, Aisha, peeling garlic or stirring tea, humming little melodies he invented. His father, Imran, proudly took him to the mechanic shop on weekends, teaching him how to pass tools, tighten screws, and understand the dignity of small work. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Then, so slowly that no one noticed at first, things began to shift. It began with sighs, long, irritated sighs whenever he was asked something. Then came the eye rolls, the muttering, the slammed doors. Zion's once neat room turned into a battlefield of clothes and undone homework. His uniform started smelling like places he shouldn't be. His notebooks were empty, despite his claim that he finished everything at school. His voice grew sharper. His tone became colder, and every confrontation turned into a fight. Aisha brushed it off as teenage mood swings. Imran tried to stay calm, hoping time would settle the storm. But the storm only grew. Zion started coming home late, past the time the street outside filled with the sound of distant traffic and shop shutters closing. Some evenings, he returned with bruised knuckles. Other days, with a smell of smoke clinging to his shirt. Every question from his parents was met with hostility. Where were you? Why does your shirt smell like that? Why is your homework notebook empty again? Each question became an attack in his mind. But the breaking point came one Friday afternoon. The school called. Mr. Rahman, the principal said in a tired voice, "Your son was involved in a physical fight. Another boy was pushed and injured. Nothing serious. But we cannot ignore this." For parents who raised a gentle child, those words were knives. When Zion came home that evening, his parents were waiting in the living room, faces filled with exhaustion and fear. And instead of remorse, irritation flashed across Zion's eyes. "What now?" he snapped, dropping his bag. "Beta, your school called," Aisha said softly. "So," he shot back. Imran stepped forward. "You got into a fight." Zion shrugged. "He deserved it." "What happened to you?" Imran whispered. "We didn't raise you like this." Zion's reply burned everything in the room. "Then maybe you raised me wrong." It was the first time Aisha felt her heart crumble. Imran stepped back as if he'd been struck. The argument turned into a storm, raised voices, trembling hands, broken hearts. When Imran tried taking Zion's phone away as punishment, Zion shoved him. Not hard enough to hurt, but enough to shock. In horror, the boy froze for a second, but fear disguised itself as anger, and he ran upstairs, slamming the door. Downstairs, Aisha cried quietly. Imran stood silently, feeling like the ground beneath him had disappeared. Their sweet boy, the child who once hugged them for no reason, was slipping away. And they didn't know why. The next morning arrived heavy with guilt and silence. No one spoke. Breakfast sat untouched on the table. Aisha tried to smile, tried to offer Zion parathas, but the boy barely looked up. Then, unexpectedly, the doorbell rang. It was Adam, Zion's childhood best friend. He looked nervous, fidgeting with the strap of his backpack. "Uncle, Auntie, can I talk to you?" Aisha invited him in with a trembling heart. Imran sat on the sofa, prepared for the worst. Adam took a deep breath. "I'm worried about Zion. He's not himself." The words were simple, but they cracked open the door to a truth they hadn't seen. With halting breaths, Adam explained everything. Zion had fallen in with a much older group of boys, a group known for skipping classes, smoking in alleyways, starting fights, mocking teachers, and bragging about disrespect like it was a prize. These boys didn't care about consequences. They cared about appearing tough. And Zion, desperate to belong, had followed. But the worst wasn't what he was doing. It was what he was feeling. He keeps saying he's not good enough, Adam admitted, voice tightly held. He thinks you expect too much. He thinks he's already a disappointment, so he might as well act like one. The sentence shattered something inside Aisha. She covered her mouth as tears slipped out. Imran's jaw tightened, pain swallowing his breath. They had never once thought they expected too much from him. They had simply believed he was capable. They had believed in him. But Zion had seen that belief as pressure, as weight, as proof that he wasn't measuring up. Later that evening, Imran quietly walked to Zion's room and knocked. Not with authority, not with anger, but with the gentle knock of a father whose heart was breaking. After a long silence, the door opened slightly. Zion stood there, arms crossed, pretending to be unaffected. But his eyes looked exhausted, and beneath the exhaustion, scared. "What?" he muttered. "Come sit with me," Imran said softly. Zion hesitated, but something in his father's tone, something calm, something sad, made him follow. They stepped out into the backyard, where the evening breeze carried memories of the days they fixed bicycles and shared silly jokes. For minutes, they sat without speaking. Finally, Imran said, "Beta, we're not angry because you made mistakes. We're scared because you're hurting and you won't tell us why." Zion looked away. "You won't understand." "Then help me understand." The boy's lip trembled. His voice came out small, so small it barely reached the air between them. "I don't fit anywhere." Imran's eyebrows lifted. Zion continued, eyes filling. "I'm not smart like the other boys. I'm not strong. I'm not good at studying. I'm not good at sports. Everyone else has something, and I don't. I felt like I was disappointing you every single day. At least those guys. They made me feel like I mattered." A tear rolled down his cheek. "But now I don't know how to stop." Imran felt his heart collapse under the weight of those words. He reached out and pulled his son into his arms. Zion didn't resist. Instead, he broke. He cried like a child again, burying his head in his father's chest, apologizing between shaky breaths. "I'm sorry, Baba. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean any of it." Imran kissed the top of his head. "You don't need to be perfect. You never did. You just need to come back to us." Inside the house, Aisha watched through the window, tears streaming this time from relief. And tonight, he finally found the path back. The days that followed were not easy. Zion apologized to the boy he had hurt at school. It was awkward, painful, and humbling, but it mattered. He distanced himself from the older boys, even though they laughed and mocked him for being soft. But Zion didn't care anymore. He was tired of pretending, tired of being someone he wasn't. At home, things slowly began to shift. He helped Aisha around the kitchen again, carefully chopping vegetables, washing dishes, and sharing shy conversations over cup after cup of tea. She didn't scold him, didn't remind him of his mistakes. She just loved him the way she always had, gently, endlessly. Imran took him to the mechanic shop again. They fixed a bicycle together, laughing at how rusty Zion had become with tools. Imran didn't give lectures. He taught through moments, through patience, through presence. School remained challenging. His teachers kept a close eye on him. Some classmates whispered, but Adam never left his side. He walked with him to class, sat with him during breaks, and reminded him that slipping once didn't define him forever. At night, Zion journaled, sometimes a few lines, sometimes entire pages. He wrote about anger, loneliness, guilt, and the fear of failing again. The boy they once knew didn't return all at once, but piece by piece, he came back. The softness in his voice, the smile that reached his eyes, the quiet humming in the kitchen, the way he hugged his mother silently after school. He wasn't the same as before. He was growing into someone stronger. One evening, as the sun faded orange behind the clouds, Zion sat between his parents on the couch. He leaned against his mother's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Aisha kissed his forehead. "You are our son. No mistake could ever make us stop loving you." Imran placed a hand on his back. "We all fall. What matters is getting up and knowing you don't have to do it alone." Home wasn't just a place. It was forgiveness. It was guidance. It was unconditional love. And he would never lose his way again.